welcome everybody. It is, it's been a year since we first presented our first virtual, which is now known as Meet Your Makers. And for those who are not on the air with us that night, our winemaker Nancy Uloa was our first guest. We thank her for kicking off this monthly show. Crazy entire year has gone by, and our group has grown so large. We're almost 19,000 right now.
Wow.
That's the testament to the winemakers and the winemakers' families and the support up there in the tasting room people. They're fabulous. I just want to say my first experience with our guests, Guillaume and Arnaud Fabre, I will characterize it only by vintage purchase. For Clos Solène, it was 2014. We joined the club when they were located in Tin City. For Benom, it was 2017. I think I took a phone call or an email to see if I wanted to purchase or join the club. No tasting. And I thought, oh, Guillaume and his brother have started another label. Count us in. So my wife and I love both wines and their wine families. Thanks for joining us, Arnaud and Guillaume. Jason, the forum is yours.
We'll just get started. First of all, I'm probably one of many on the call that, and Sherry's on here somewhere, back at here, this place. So,
oh yeah.
was one of these visitors to Paso Underground that started enjoying Clos Solène back in those days. And we've been members ever since. So we're excited to have you guys on. To get started, as somebody that has a couple brothers myself, I'm curious about early days of being siblings, and every story I've heard and everything I've read says that Guillaume at five you're in the vineyards, something like this, and you guys grew up in the business and have been doing that since childhood, one form or another. But I'm curious, outside of wine, as kids, what did you guys do? What was playtime like? What did you do for fun?
I think Arnaud might answer the question first because he was the last one in the family and the craziest. Well, Arnaud, why don't you go?
Well, I think it's important to kind of go back to where we are from, southern France. That's where our family started. Guillaume is actually the 6th generations of winemaker in our family. And so, we were born into it. And, when you're on this business, especially in France, you spend most of your time helping your parents. But I was kind of the rascal, I would say, of the family. It was more playing out, partying with my friends than helping my parents. But at some point, I did my job of helping the parents. But I think when you are part of this in France, it's a completely different ball game. I would say, it's a hard business to be in. It's a lot of investment. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work here too. And so it's more like you are dedicated to it, So the off time, it's more spending it with family and friends. And the rest of the time, it's more like working vineyards, winery, or doing tastings and events and all of that. So don't you agree, Guillaume?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely where we are from, actually, the south of France, which I have a bottle of wine right now. It's an area where we always struggle to sell wines. So we were very focusing on the vineyard, but didn't know how to sell wine. So for me, when I came to US first time, I really wanted to learn the marketing standpoint of view, which was great, but definitely a lot of time spending with a family. I mean, I was maybe on the 4th one. I was following my dad every day, every hour, every night. And my friend was calling me like, yeah, let's go party tonight. And then I was like, sorry, I have to help my dad, So it's, I think it's passions, So
So even as kids, no sports, no other hobbies or passions. It was straight into the business, huh?
On my side, I was, yeah, I'm tall. I should be really good at basketball, but I was terrible. Didn't play
So
soccer
those
either.
things.
So, so definitely, I was definitely on the wine. But you know, late in the days, I was developing some love with skiing and being on the mountain, hiking. So definitely, and also from the south of France, a lot of winds. So windsurfing and those
Oh.
things. I start to be like 16, 18 years old. Yeah.
Got it. Arnaud, same for you?
Yeah, on my side, it was more like we are 4 in a family. So we have the oldest is our sister. She doesn't make wine. She's not any part of any wine business. She drinks all the wines that we make. And we have Guillaume, and then we have another brother in between us. He's a winemaker in Bordeaux in Saint-Emilion. So both of us, we are playing a lot of tennis and competition when we were young. So tennis is definitely was the hobby when we were young.
Very nice. So you've got, it's four siblings?
Yeah, we are 4. Yeah.
Okay. And a brother and sister that are still back in France?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So we hear often on these calls, and frankly, visiting vineyards, that it takes a lot of beer to make great wine. I don't know if that applies to everybody, but for you guys, your favorite adult beverage that is not wine, what would that be?
Oh.
It's so much. It's hard to say.
Personally, I drink pretty much 99% of wine every day. I would say beer will be the second drink, and high alcohol we are not so much into it, but I'm always happy to discover.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, whiskey will be the one for
Whiskey.
me. But don't drink enough. But I'm very passionate about the bourbon and the styles. I just can't wait to go to Tennessee back, you know, to visit this beautiful country.
So bourbon more than Scotch, though.
Yeah, I would say yeah, in a way.
A lot of bourbon drinkers I know in this group here too. As it relates to wine, I know you guys got into it early. A lot of people we talk to can point to a wine that really kind of flipped the switch for them. Did that happen for you, or were you just in it too early? Is there a wine that made an impression on you that made you think differently about wine, or when you're at 5 years old, does that not happen?
I mean, our grandmother was actually taking wine and splitting half with water. So you see what I mean? So it was like for us, these pictures, like, oh my gosh, are we going to learn wine, like good wines, you know? But for me, it was, you know, Italy, Sasaikaya, you know, I love those wines. And that was like my blown away, you know, definitely. Arnaud, what was your wine that blew you?
You know, it really depends on the occasion. But one wine definitely is on my top 5 that we drank not so long ago. It was 2009 Ponte Cane. It was still young, but wow, so many layers, so many layers.
Yeah. Good. So let's go back to where you both got started. I know it was a different time and probably a different place, but in the wine business. Guillaume, we'll start with you because I think you've got a longer story here.
I mean,
he's 9 years older, so yeah, definitely.
Do you see? No.
Yeah, it's always the youngest.
No, I mean, like I said, a touch earlier, I think moving to California for me as an intern was definitely something I really wanted to do, to kind of see other than my family, because I was so much learning with my dad and of course his friend around, his, you know, his mentors. But coming to California just blew me away. You know, I mean, Paso Robles, first of all.
Guillaume, let me pause you there. I want to go prior to that.
Oh, back prior.
Yeah, when you got started, at the very first time you got started back in France, what were you doing? What was the role?
You know, we come from a family that's there are six of them, and each one of them had a piece of land that our great-grandfather kind of built up. And so we were kind of seeing all of them and seeing what they were doing between more agriculture and viticulture. On my side, I was seeing both sides. And I moved quickly into wine. I started, maybe like 10 years old. I was like more into it. But I started with a big machine and big things on the agriculture side, which pulled me into it. And now, funnel to quality wine, and the passion can push me into that.
So when you got started as a kid, you were doing more of the production, less of the farming. Am I hearing that right?
Much more production on the vineyard, like, any kind. We were doing wheat, corn, vineyards. It was like very broad. I've been all those estates, and I was passionate about it. And this is how I learned, and my dad, our dad, was definitely more on the viticulture side of it. So I was coming home and being on a vineyard, but I was, checking off uncles, and there are more different cultures, so it was great to learn those.
Got it. And then you come to California.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you land in Paso?
So our family moved from south of France to Bordeaux, which was back in 2000. And when they moved, it already kind of pulled my heart away, because I was supposed to take over the south of France vineyards. And he moved to Bordeaux. He said, great, so I'm staying in Languedoc a little bit and going to help you, but I want to kind of explore the world. And, Paso came up on the map because a friend of our dad in Bordeaux knew somebody in Paso Robles, which I always said, I thought it was more Barra Mexico and those lower side of America. And I started to Google it, and it was like big 98-point Robert Parkers. Oh my gosh, these guys doing something right, And it was Stefan from L'Aventure. I was blown away how the layout of the vineyards. And I took my phone and give him a call. He said, do you take insurance? He said, no, sorry. I call him back the next day. I really want to come. No, sorry. I come back the third day. I really want to come. Really? You want to come? Huh? You get no money. So I don't care about the money. I want to come. And, now the rest is history.
Very nice. Okay. So we're going to pause there. Arnaud, you're not in wine before you come to California, is that right? Other than
yes, I was. So to continue the story, so we are from the Languedoc. When I was 6 to 8 years old, we moved to Bordeaux. Guillaume was mainly raised, I would say, in Languedoc, and me, I was mainly raised in Bordeaux. So completely two different regions. And we bought a property in Bordeaux in early 2000. And that's when I was starting to really focus on wine. I would say more like helping my parents. Did a study on the wine business and spirits in Bordeaux. And after, it's when the good part starts. Guillaume got married in 2008, 2008.
Both 7 and 8.
Do you remember the wedding date?
I did the first one in Vegas in 2007
Yeah.
Elvis Presley, and then 2008 was in France.
And so at his wedding, I met the daughter of his boss, so Stefan and Beatrice Aseo. I met her daughter, their daughter in France, Chloe. And then most of you know the good ending.
Yes. How did you guys meet in France?
With Chloe?
Yeah.
So we actually met at Guillaume's wedding.
Ah, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So at Guillaume's wedding, but at that time I was kind of shy, but Guillaume, was pushing me. He was more the American in France. He was pushing me, oh, go dance with her, she's cute. He pretty much wanted me to go with him to America,
Got it. So
and then after that, I did an internship at Justin Winery, and that's where I really dive into wine. Obviously, before that, I was with my parents. We were selling the property back in Bordeaux. I was working for a wine merchant at that time as well. And then in 2009, I came to the US and started the internship at Justin. That's pretty much where my story starts.
What was the nature of the internship at Justin?
Well, it was kind of
To be closer to Chloe, right? No?
maybe not at first. It was kind of the same. You know, Guillaume and I have the same kind of mind in terms of discovering and try to learn from other cultures. You know, it's the best way to learn. It's going on different countries and learn from cultures. And so I was attracted by that. And so I came here to basically just learn English, you know, because in France, if you don't practice, you kind of lose it. And so when I got here, I was kind of wowed by the community, the appellation. It was just getting kind of started. And I saw the potential. And obviously there is a woman that came on the top of that. I'm like, perfect package. Let's go over there.
So from Justin, you go to law?
So Justin, I stayed, I did one harvest and then I did the second one. I came back to France in 11. I finished my studies. And then in 13, that's when I started a law estate.
Got it. It was marketing at law. Do I remember that right?
Yeah, it was more on the marketing. So I did tasting room. You know, it's tasting room is the best way to learn the market, to learn the customers. And then I did distribution, I did marketing, I did wine club, shipping, I did everything. And that taught me a lot of things into the business.
Good. Well, that makes sense. So then going back to you, so you have convinced Stefan to take you on as an intern.
Yeah.
That turns out to be a fruitful relationship. Tell us kind of how, what happens from there?
I know if you guys met Stefan, I'm sure many of you did. He came over at the airport with long hair, dirty shoes, and I say, wow, I'm going to like this guy, you know. So we arrived in Paso at L'Aventure. I think it was 6 p.m. It was, to be honest, I really remember it was 28 August 2004, and I was like blown away by the vineyard. And I said, wow, you know, what kind of hours do you guys do, you know, working wise? Oh, you know, 7 to 4. I say 4. Can we stay longer, work longer to explore? Say, yeah, he was kind of laughing at me a little bit, but definitely I came with a lot of passion. And when I saw him, I said, wow, it's like a guy I'm going to be very close to, because the way he was talking about the land and the vineyard, quickly we connected. And now it definitely became, I would say, my second dad, you know, in a way that we share a lot together. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And internship was 11 months. So difficult because Solene was in Europe, you know, a split from your family, non-English. I didn't talk anything at that time, no friends, but it was the best year, definitely the best year. And he said, do you want to stay longer? So, yeah, I want to sign more 4 years, you know. And I called Solene, she came over, landed in Vegas and spent a night and came back to Paso. I said, can we stay 2 more years? What do you think? You know, and then she said, yeah, sure.
So then how and when is Clos Solène born? And I understand Stefan was supportive, but he didn't want to let you go.
Yeah, I mean, definitely right away, I was kind of thinking, how can we do this? You know, maybe starting 2006. It was actually 2006. And Solene kind of stopped me right away. He said, Guillaume, you're not ready. You know, I'm like a go-to guy. And say, wait a little bit more. And actually we launched in 2007 by knowing more the area. And of course, being close to L'Aventure, Eric Johnson were kind of fighting on the tractors who was going to go the quickest down the hills. And, you know, he won for sure. But I told him, can you give me some fruit, some Roussanne? And that was the start, 2007 with Roussanne. Yeah.
From Booker's Vineyard.
Yeah, he lent me like 6 rows. You can do whatever you want. So I say, yeah, let me show you, you know, and he can laugh at me.
Were you making your first wine at L'Aventure?
Yeah, because I didn't have room. I mean, I didn't have anything. So Stefan was awesome to lend, you know, definitely let me do, you know, a barrel or two. That was 2007, and then we started to do some reds behind that in 2008. But it was only 100 cases, very small.
So your first vintage was 2007, a white?
It's on the Roussan 2007 and reds with Petite Solène and Hommage à nos pères in 08. Back in the days.
So I want to understand coming from France to here, of all the aspects involved in making wine, what translates, what can you do the same that you learned there? What doesn't translate? What's not the same here?
Yeah, that's a big question. So let me try to be very narrow, to be quickest as possible. I think we cannot beat the weather. I mean, weather in France has been different than California, all of you know. But as a Frenchman, where you know generations of work, how your grandfather taught you, your father taught you, you come over, you're 23 or 24, you think you know the world, and you come and say, you know, I'm going to show you, you know, that's how we do it. And then take slap on the face, say, son, come back to work, you know, look at. And, you know, I start to kind of do some leaf pulling and things like that to try to have a touch more extractions. I think on wines, we're looking for layer and extractions. France are missing a little bit of it, less right now, because we have less sun. And here it's the opposite, we have too much sun. So actually, what we think we're doing the best in France, here is the opposite. You have to think the opposite way. How can you protect your crop? How can you make more crop per vine to not have a rise of sugar? All of this, it took me years because you want the best on the first bottles. Oh my gosh, that's my first, I want to be the best, you know. Has to be only 5 cluster vines, has to be 14.5 alcohol, I mean, whatever, you know, and then as we go more and more, you know, we find our way.
So the farming approach is very different, driven by the weather, by the climate, it sounds like. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely, yeah, big time.
Then once it's harvested, is it more similar at that point, or is it also very different?
I think it's like said Arnaud, you know, here we can get creatives. Yes, we all know we don't have AVAs and things like that, but when you have an area that can beautifully make Syrah, Grenache, Mourvèdre, Cabernet, Petit Verdot, Zinfandel, you know, Tempranillo, all of those, you know, and you have all this passion to make wine, and you have all those, you know, beauties. Oh my gosh, you know, how I'm going to start, you know? So I think it's, we can be very creative, but very focused with a very, I would say with eager to be like fighting to get wine like elegant and fresh.
Interesting. So then when is Benom born? What's the first vintage there?
I know you want to.
So Benom was born in 15. So prior to that, you know, Guillaume and I really wanted to continue what we have stopped in France, because at that time, all the property were sold. We were both of us here, and really Guillaume and I talked together and made the big decision, because it's a big decision. You know, when you are two brothers in America, so that's your only family here, decide to go business together, it's a big decision, because obviously you have the scare of failure. And so, you know, we were strong enough to push it through, and Guillaume and I have a similar character, but obviously Guillaume is more the farmer and the winemaker on Benom side, and I'm more the operational guy, the business guy in a brand. So we were like, those two kind of work together, you know, because we don't step on each other's toes. And so in 2015, we decided to start and make our first vintage. But we had talked before about the vision. You know, it's not like, oh, let's just make a brand together. We had a vision of doing a different style of wines, like Guillaume is doing at Clos Solène, but even push it even further with Benom, create some eclectic blends. Like, you know, in France, you have a lot of regulations. And so we wanted to kind of take the World Wide West of the America and create some more creativity and showcase that freedom of blending Grenache and Cab together, such as an example. And so that's how Benom kind of started. We started with 200 cases in 2015, 2 wines, and then we organically grew with all of you guys following us, and now we are up to past 3,000 cases and almost 10 wines. So it's amazing to be able to create those cuvées and really showcase our passion through those wines that we were not able to do pretty much in France.
So how do you characterize, and either of you or both of you answer this one, the difference between Clos Solène and Benom? It's, you know, Paso fruit, right? So we're pulling from the same area. We got the same winemaker. Is it different blends? Is one a nod to old world, one new world? What's the approach there? How would you characterize the difference?
I think, like said Arnaud, you know, we started very organically Benom with a mindset of different vital, definitely than Clos Solène. So already the vital is different. You know, I definitely started Clos Solène, you know, with a passion for the Rhones, and I think Paso definitely does beautiful with those. That's how I grew up, you know, in Languedoc. Carignan was a big part of it. Grenache, Syrah. So definitely big love for Syrah. I'm a huge fan of Syrah. And when we decided to do something with Benom, we're like, okay, I think Cabernet definitely, because that's, you know, our love, what we moved into. And with Arnaud, we quickly find the wines. And when we were making it, I mean, when I was making it, I didn't say, oh, I have to do this to be very different than Clos Solène. I think when you are a winemaker, you can put any grapes on your hands. It comes down to, okay, is it what I taste? Is it what I'm going to do? It's not a recipe. It's something we have on the guts, you know. It's not on a notepad. I said, okay, team, do this wine. No, it's something come from the smell, the fermentation, and starting on the vineyard. I mean, with Benom, we also take care of the vineyard as well. We are very lucky to get some beautiful vineyards. And I'm definitely a little bit, I'm always on the vineyard, like checking, make sure the vineyard is correct and all that. And after we make the wines. So it's not the same wines for sure. And people told me, so how can you make so different? I said, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's just the way it is.
Right. And I think he comes to as well our story, you know, because Guillaume was raised in a Languedoc, I was raised in Bordeaux. And so the wines that we create at Benom is following our story, and it's an image to our story. And it's very important for us to continue doing that for that simple reason. And obviously, Guillaume, knowing Paso Robles like his pocket on all the vineyards, he's like, okay, well, if we go on Cab, I can grab Cab there, I can do that Grenache. And that's how we organically started those blends. And now, after a few years, we nailed the vineyard that we needed for each of the blend that we are making.
So fruit is being sourced differently for the different labels? Because I assume
no, not differently. No, it's just like the vineyard is this way. So that's actually a good question, Jason, actually. I used to be like, okay, I want this way, this way, this way. Now I start to kind of, okay, for new source, like, okay, this vineyard is so this way. I talk with the grower, I say, you know, I work like this, and I start to listen, I start to look at it and say, okay, let's handshake. Let's do 1 year, let's do 2 years. And I start to learn their way to make. And then I start to come in and add a little bit of details. You know, you do this way, the vine is beautiful, but we can do this way also to be maybe a touch better. You know, you see what I mean? So yeah, that's how I think we are down to on the vineyards. And I think, you know, like I said, Arnaud, I'm a fanatic of vineyards. It come down to that when I was with Stefan, you know, the first years I took my truck and visiting all the vineyards and Epoch, Justin Smith, and all that. Say, you know, when you start to make your wine, you get some fruits, you know, so a little bit of it. So that was pretty cool to have this, you know, capacity. I mean, this opportunity to get those.
What's harder, farming or blending?
Oh, farming. I mean, definitely farming. Wine is nothing. No, I mean, it's clearly. I mean, it's clearly nothing. I mean, I shake every year. I mean, if you talk to Solene, she'll be laughing close to me because every harvest I'm shaking. Oh my gosh, are we to make the right decision? The picking time, we become child again, you know. But as we get into the vintage, we get more into it, and you got to keep going, and then you get feeling like, you know, you got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, you know, farming, you are dealing with something you can't control. I'm talking about Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And so it's really stressful for the farmers to farm the way where every day they have to kind of sometimes change directions, especially close to a harvest. When you have all the grapes in, you just have to guide the grapes. And so I won't say it's easy, but it's you have more control when you have the grapes on hand than dealing with Mother Nature, like bringing you heat or rain or hail. I mean, I'm talking about different appellations. And so I agree with Guillaume, farming is the toughest part of the
Makes a
wine.
lot of sense, because you can be just about at harvest time and then all of a sudden get a heat wave like this year, right?
Yeah.
Right, but if you farm those grapes, you know, in a good way, and you are, it was hot, but luckily we were in advanced, right? So the vine cycle was advanced, it got hot, luckily it was right. If it was like behind and it gets a big heat wave, and it's where it's problematic and things can't kind of hold the heat. I mean, that's a small.
Yeah, well, makes sense. What's the hardest part of the wine business?
Be with your brother.
Selling it. No?
Selling it? So that's, I think it's the way I asked the question, Mike, but that's the most common answer we get. I think if we talk about it as a business, then consistently we hear selling it's the hardest part.
No, I just wanted to get the credit, Jason.
Yeah. Well, there's the advantage of having siblings with complementary skill sets. Go ahead, Mike.
I think it must be said, you were director of marketing at Law, correct, Arnaud?
Yeah.
So you know about selling.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you have a passion and the good juice in front of you, everything does come together. Selling it, yes. I mean, you talk to everyone. You talk to Stefan. Stefan is a true farmer. He likes to hang out with his tractor more so than his customers. And so when you ask him what's the hardest part, he would tell you selling it, because he's the old school way of farming, a winemaker. In some ways, when you talk to Guillaume, he has kind of both. And so, yes, selling it is the hardest part. In some ways, I agree with you, but I think both of them, both of production and selling, has to be set together. You have to have the vision before even started. When you start a brand and you don't have that vision, that's where you have your customer don't really see what's the end point. And all of our customers, I think, believe and see our end point. And so, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, but in some ways, I would say both production and marketing are tied together.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah, I mean, it is the most consistent answer that we get. And it makes sense. I think most people get into this because of their love or passion for wine, and that's a different animal. With the exception of Corey Burke, I see your hat, Corey. Who
I know he's right here.
who came from sales. So that's the most difficult or challenging part. What's the most exciting? What's the funnest part of it?
Yeah. I think the fun part is each vintage, each harvest, like, okay, what's going to come, you know, to kind of go on our way and to kind of, because you think you source all those fruit, you grow them, you say, oh, they're beautiful, I'm going to pick them at perfect ripeness, and then boom, you know, storm comes in. So I think it's, for me, this challenge makes the job so cool, because it's, you know, you think you manage everything and you don't. It's Mother Nature, you know.
Yeah.
On my end, I would say when Guillaume calls me when he's starting to, when he's starting to
Mike, you just went full screen. I don't know if you mentioned
yeah.
that.
Sticking the full screen.
I think there is a few things that excite me about the wine business. It's at the end of harvest when Guillaume called me, he started tasting his tanks that are getting pretty much pressed. He's like, come taste this and this and this, and you start visioning a new wine, and you start visioning how you're gonna promote it. You start visioning how the whole marketing side of things. So that's a very exciting time. And I think as well, the where Guillaume and I are really coming together, it's when we blend the wines together, because we have pretty much the same palate and we always agree on the decisions. But when you see like, okay, well, let's make this wine, here's the blend, and we start putting it together, and we come down to the final blend, and you see the volume, you see, okay, well, we have that much, and we have that much for the club, the taste room. You have the whole year pretty much in front of you, and so that's an exciting part on my end too.
That makes sense. Guillaume, as the winemaker, how has your style approach changed over the years that you've been doing it?
I think I become a little bit more reasonable. That's one thing for sure. Due to the farming, dialing more the farming down to really more details, and definitely that's play a role. I mean, a role in the wines, and on the style of the wines, we try to grasp the grapes before it gets too out of our hands. I mean, what is my too out of hands? Like something is balanced, acidity, freshness, minerality becomes my really focus, you know, because I want to drink a wine and not having the wine here. It's like, oh my gosh, I cannot finish the glass. You know, those wines still very generous also, still. But on the style, definitely switch to that more freshness, minerality. Yeah, that's it. So
I definitely saw his style shifting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have the vintage influence as well. From 16 to 17, for me, it's when Clos Solène started to turn in a direction of, we say, drinkability. Because most of you guys drink your wines, well, there's always exceptions, drink your wines in the next 5 years. But when you open some wines in Paso, you're like, wow, this needs at least 10 years to really enjoy the full bottle. And what Guillaume said is like, when you drink a glass, you're like, I had enough. You're like, that's not pleasure. You know what I mean? And so I think drinkability, it's key for us: freshness, minerality, and balance. Definitely.
we always had a kind of more feminine style on the wines, I would say, per se. But the alcohol was definitely the thing that was definitely, you know, the first Clos Solène, the first homage was 16.5.
Woo!
On the label.
And then, yeah, no, for sure. And then right now it's 14.5, 14.8. So definitely, is it the wine very different and less complex? He said, no, it has even more complexity, because the alcohol is hiding so much things that when you have less alcohol, it's definitely much harder to make wine, much harder, because you see tannin. It could be like greener tannin, you know, pepper, all those things. Well, some varietal like Cabernet doesn't like it to be so peppery, but Syrah and all those, I mean, you follow me, Jason, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, that's good insight. Arnaud, you said freshness, minerality, and balance. Were those the three things you said? I think
correct.
I think that characterizes your wines really well. I think that's kind of what I take away from your wines for years. I think that's what it makes them so appealing, my personal opinion.
mm-hmm.
So we're past harvest now. What's the day in the life like this time of year? Is it tending to the vineyards and the vines, and what's it look like now?
I mean, I would say when you say what's the hardest job on this business, I think it's definitely being a father too. you know, and when you have kids, when your job is taking so much, you know, focus and passion, and, you know, when it's harvest, you're literally, you got to go, you know, doesn't matter, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. I mean, Corey is here too. You know, it's, you know, you got to go, you know. So right now it's time where we kind of refocus a little bit, take more time with the family, I would say, on my hands. But we have to work the next season. You know, it's always, you have to be ahead of the game in viticulture, in marketing, in, you know, so this season started crazy for us as Clos Solène, Benom also, but we have the releases, you know, pre-tasting, pre-release tastings, I mean, travels. I mean, it's always something coming on, which is crazy good.
Which is a good reminder of how grateful we are that you guys are making time for us tonight. We are about 10 minutes out, so I want to just do a couple more questions and leave time, because I know we're going to have a lot of questions from the group tonight. So I want to leave the balance of my time to have you guys talk about your current lineup and your wine clubs. So Arnaud, you want to go first?
Yeah, so we make about, currently we make 7 wines. We have 3 in a 4 that we release. It's the Origine, the Cabernet Sauvignon, the Les Deux Frères, which means 2 brothers. It's a Grenache blend with Cabernet and Tempranillo. Then we have a Lapsus, which is an homage to Paso. It's a Graziano, a Mourvèdre Cabernet, and a Cool Climate Syrah blend. So that's when we release those wines in the fall. And then we have a rosé and a white that we release in the spring. The white is pretty cool because it's a Chardonnay Sauvignon Blanc. So you do that in France, you pretty much get cut off. And then we have 2 very limited reds. It's a Muse. Muse, it's an inspiration from a Spanish wine in Rumilla appellation. It's a Cabernet Mourvèdre. And we have Hawk, which is kind of the starting point of our story, where Carignan, it's a grape from Languedoc-Roussillon and Spain, is the king on this blend with Syrah and Cabernet. On the clubs, we have a club of 4 bottles a year that you get pretty much access to 3 to 4 wines. And then we have other clubs that you get more bottles of. But you have to wait 10 years to be on Benom list in order to get an allocation.
The cold.
That was a joke.
I thought that was intended just for Mike. The cold climate Syrah, are you getting that from Santa Barbara?
No, it's actually from the southern here, Pismo Beach. It's a vineyard called Spanish Springs.
Got it.
We love it so much because it's a Syrah that reminds us of Saint Joseph, pretty much. Saint Joseph, it's an appellation in northern Rhone. A lot of peppery, black and white peppers notes. It has a lot of density and really polish the tannins, and so that helps us polish the wines a little bit and bring some drinkability on some of them.
Nice, very nice. Guillaume, current lineup and wine club.
So total case production now we are at 5,000 cases. We have 10 wines like we always used to have, 4 in springtime. Spring usually is a wine that's a bit less aging, like 18 months or 16 months in oak. Definitely more on the Grenache style for the Harmony GSM. Fleur de Solène was Petite Solène for the beginning of this wine. It's a blend of Syrah Grenache. It's definitely for Solène. She loves soft wines, and that's, you know, if she asks me, can you grab a bottle of wine? The wine we always pick up Fleur, always soft. You know, we have our whites that's very sells very well. Hommage Blanc. The beginning was Essence de Roussanne, now became Hommage Blanc with a touch of Viognier and Grenache Blanc. The Rosé, that's definitely one that's the big seller, you know, now 365 days out of the year. It's crazy. And then in the fall, those ones get aged longer in oak. You have the Hommage, which is straight Syrah co-fermented with Viognier and Grenache. L'Insolent, our Cabernet-based wine, we started in 2009. And then after that, we have a little bit of El Toro, come from Justin Saxon, a very small allocation of that. Anculis comes from Santa Maria Valley, and Cuvée Jean also for my sons from Santa Maria as well. So we have those lineup with those wines with a bit cooler climates, but they are very straight on their bottles, nothing blended with Paso, which is beautifully because you have the homage more like Paso, but actually you almost think it's a cooler climate Syrah and it's Paso, and you have Cuvée Jean, which is definitely cooler climate with white pepper notes and things like that, you know. So Sweet Clementine is also part of the list. I don't know if you guys met Clementine, my daughter, our first one, so it's definitely by cellar, you know, wines. Great for finish with a little bit of cigar. And the wine club, you know, it's pretty much standard wine club. It's a 3-bottle club and a 6-bottle club. We start to have a large amount of members and not thinking because we're going to cap the production, you know, where we start to be at a maximum now. So that's a bit the future of it. So Mike, you better come back before it's closed.
All right. Can't keep drinking mine, Mike.
I'm working on it.
So
Hey, don't quit Benom to go to Clos Solène.
all right.
Oh, that's a conundrum.
That's a good idea.
It seems like it's all in the family, but maybe
I say join both. I think that's the way to go. These are stunning, elegant wines. I highly recommend. I shouldn't be doing that. That's not kind of our motto, but it's true. And so, you know, I know there's probably a lot of people on here that are already fans, but for those that haven't had the opportunity to try the wines, I highly encourage you to stop by and give them a try. You won't be disappointed. We got 5 minutes left, so I want to open it up to the group for any questions.
I have to interject.
Go ahead,
Okay, they're changing the settings so everybody can automatically log in without a passcode.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, the chat process got shut down. So there's a lot of frustration out there that everybody wants to ask questions. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is to raise your hand, and I will, you know, pick randomly who, in order, who, however it ends up. So that everybody can ask a question, if that's okay.
I think it's populated here in the order that they raise their hand, Mike, so that might work easy for us.
They come to the top, so it's all good. So I'm going to start with Dave Phillips up here. You're going to have to unmute, Dave. Go ahead. Dave, you have to unmute, Dave.
Oh, hi. Well, thanks a lot, guys. This is really great. Thanks to Jason and Mike for putting this thing together. It's the first time I've been on it, but I'm going to be in Paso the week of January 9th. Are you going to be there? I guess. Are you going to be open that in January? That's for both Guillaume and Arnaud. Will you be there?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any days a week or during the week, or what days are best?
You know, January, it's pretty light, but it's always better to go during the week. We have less traffic during the week, but if you are coming on the weekends, we'll love to have you anyways.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Most places are by appointment, Dave. So yeah,
sure.
Just call us and then we'll make. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay,
good. Thank you both.
And
Thank you.
and I'll get Anne, go ahead.
Just a quick and really funny story, because we were in Paso with a group of 8 of us in February of this year, and we had to split up guys and girls because we couldn't get into Benom for all 8 of us. So the guys drew the long straw and they got to go to Benom. Well, the girls went to Giornata. No comment. Guys spent 2 hours at Benom. I told my friend, don't listen to my boyfriend. Whatever you buy it for me. My boyfriend calls me and says, hey, what do you want? And I said, whatever Matt says. He hangs up the phone and says to Matt, she said she doesn't want anything. Luckily, your people at Benom were awesome. We popped in the next day. They gave us a full quick tasting. I joined the club, bought everything. And I was like, all right, at least we got to go taste it, because the girls were really mad that we ended up at Giornata instead of Benom.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much.
Corey Vickery, go ahead. Oh, there we go. Corey.
Yep, thank you. Thanks guys for talking to us. I was just wondering if you're going to be making more pheromones wines.
Actually, Pheromones took out the brands Happy Napa. They're doing just Napa, yeah, straight Syrah. I think it is. They do blendings. Absolutely.
Okay, because yeah, that's some of the best stuff in Paso.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you should Google online to see where they sell their wine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Corey. Hoyt?
Hey, Corey and Ann, if you don't mind, put your hands down so that it can remove the.
Hoyt, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got a question. I live in Alabama. I was just wondering if y'all were, is it available here, or do I need to like join and do y'all ship here?
Alabama is kind of a funny state.
Alabama, so we need to ship to an ABC store, which we can. You just have to find the closest ABC store. We fill out the form for you. Obviously, you have to join the club. That's no brainer.
Okay, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hoyt. Anna and Aaron and Nicole. There we go.
Hi, guys. Is there any project, because you guys have done a lot of different things, but is there any project you've been dying to try to do, or any new type of wine you've been wanting to dabble in?
Arnaud, you want to answer? Oh,
Yes. But Guillaume still.
I mean, you two are probably the two most like adventurous people I think I've known. And you both in different ways are quite adventurous. And the types of wines, the way you approach things, Arnaud being more business, Guillaume being more the farming. I mean, it's a great blend. I got my Benom tonight, by the way. But is there anything you guys haven't done that you wanted to do?
Yeah, there is one thing that we will do one day, is to make a wine with our brother. We want him to purchase fruit in Saint-Emilion in Bordeaux, make it, because we kind of trust him. He's a pretty good farmer and winemaker. And we want to blend it together when we come in July, because in July we always go back to France with Guillaume, and we want to blend it together. So that's a project that I want to achieve with all of us in my life, and it's gonna happen. But you have to be part of Benom and Clos Solène Club in order to get it.
which is okay for Aaron and
You're
Nicole.
too much. Aaron got his shipment like yesterday, by the way. But like, you guys are so very passionate, and that's what we love so much about you. And I think I probably speak for pretty much everybody on here who knows you guys. Like, you guys are so passionate, and that's what's so wonderful about looking at your wines and all the things that you guys do. And I mean, I've known Guillaume since 2004. He didn't speak a lick of English, but he was up to here in wine. I mean, completely down to his fingernails, everything. I mean, he was purple arm, pure purple arm, because he works so hard. And he's probably one of the hardest workers I think I've ever seen. The work ethic is just second to none.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Hey,
I love you
Raymond.
guys.
Hold on. Thanks, Nicole. Lara and Patrick.
Well, actually, hang tight. We had Raymond up next, and it dropped. I didn't know if Raymond, did you still have a question? Is this Laventure, Raymond, by the way?
Yeah, it is.
Hey.
I was
We
just
want to
thinking I
see
was
your
gonna
face,
text you.
Raymond.
No, I'm getting ready for tomorrow's sales trip down to Phoenix. I was actually just gonna text Guillaume my question instead of putting him on the spot.
Uh-oh.
I'm kind of curious, you know, over the last couple of years, I've seen you run through Laventure vineyards on an almost weekly basis. And I know that you're not just doing that over at Laventure. I know that you're kind of doing that all over Paso. So I'm super curious if you have been or have found this and that you're willing to talk about it, some vineyard that's just really surprised you and has been really interesting and something that's just different and something that I don't know, something that inspires you here in Paso.
Well, that's a good question, Raymond. I mean, definitely a lot of vineyards are coming to fruition with people coming to town. You know, Hélène Kaplinger just planted Beautiful Hill. you know, Juan Mercado also. But as purchase possibility, I think a few things are starting to really start to shine. Gateway Vineyards, where we farm for Benom or Cabernet, and a little bit of also Clos Solène. We have another block. I think definitely beautiful vineyard, but I think the area, as you know, are coming to shine more and more with everything going on will be York Mountain. I think our cooler will be great on years like 2022, but you cannot replace the limestone and shell from the Willow Creek area. And I mean, I say Willow Creek because I never believed we'll buy on something that's renowned. And since I live here, we bought Pipestone. I'm just amazed how Willow Creek is special. The soil is first, and the climate is second. And whatever if it's hot or cold, Willow Creek, I would say because I'm living here and I buy so many other sites, will always make the top cuts. Yeah. So I mean, Raymond, I mean, you know, you make your own wine, so you definitely have a few things coming up online around. I mean, Getaway is one, Moonspring is another one also, are coming into productions. But you know, before to know them very well, you need at least 3 or 4 years of production to start to find age a little bit and start to be a vineyard known.
Okay. Thanks, Raymond. Laura and Patrick?
Laura and Patrick, there you go. I'm going to ask you a loaded question here. Your 19s were out of the park, amazing as expected, but you guys are you, so that's what we expect. What are you thinking about your 21s and 22s? I mean, this was 2 very, very challenging years. I mean, I know it's a loaded question.
To be simply honest, 21 remind me maybe close to be 19. A lot of freshness, elegance. 20 was definitely difficult, and 22, again, if the farming was kind of handled, plus you are a little bit more ahead of the game, which means like you have to pick before it's ripe, almost with a heat wave. I think I'm very pleased with 22, you know, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle, you disappeared. Do you have a question?
I do. I didn't want to repeat on what everybody else was saying, but your wines are amazing. But what winemakers do you guys drink and enjoy?
That's a good question. You know, Arnaud is importing a lot of French wines, you know, with Procure, is a side business. And I think he's been supporting us, like, you know, selling cases. He's a good marketer, you know. You know, you have to join his club and blah, blah, blah. So definitely a lot of French wines.
I'm just pouring some good juice.
I actually will say this. I don't think we touched on it. I'm sorry I looked distracted because the chat thing was a problem, but you offer or and sometimes share some of the French wines that you like to curate and the Benom tasting room. So maybe you can speak to that quickly, Arnaud.
Yes, no, you know, Procure, it's a small project. You know, we like to keep things small, but really the idea was more to share the wines that we like to drink on a daily basis. You know, if we drink California wines every day, it's like, whew, it's hard the next morning. So French wines have a tendency to be a little bit softer. And really, the idea was to bring wines that are harder to get or smaller producer that are not even present in America. And that gives you the everyday or the collectible of France. It's just super small. I try to keep it very, I don't want to be the next KNL per se. So it's
I get that.
more like the word to mouth, obscure, the something that we want to keep it small, but it's small guys that we love sharing with, and that's what we drink every day, and we keep the Paso wines for the Saturday night partying.
For sure.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that when we were there, I think in June of 2021, I brought some friends, and I don't know. My wife and I don't know anything about French wines, really. We've bought a few here and there, but never had anybody present something of quality to us. And we had something you offered there. I don't remember the name because
Yeah,
it doesn't say Benom or Clos Solène on it. And so, anyways, it
No,
was
no.
very, very good. And I like the introduction into French wine, which I should probably open one of those soon. But anyways, we really appreciated it, and we bought a couple bottles. And I encourage everybody. I don't know if you're offering tastings anymore, but if it's there, you should go try it.
No, it's something that we sometimes you know, for our members, when we have a bottle open that we share, the idea behind it was more like to educate and kind of break the gap with French wines, where, you know, sometimes what I hear, it's like, it's very intimidating. I can understand the appellations, blah, blah, blah. And we try to bridge it with Procure and educate you with what a Syrah is in Northern Rhone, what is Grenache in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, what is Cabernet in Bordeaux. And that's very important for us to bring an add-on to our members and showcase those wines. And it's something that's more under the table, that when we have a bottle, we showcase it. But it's important for us to share where we are coming from and to try to make it less snobbiness in some ways.
Thank you, Arnaud. Anybody else have a question? Raise your hand real quick. We want to.
Jerry, did you have a question?
I know that Arnaud and Guillaume have family in town, and we appreciate your.
We are here for you guys.
Sherry, do you have a question there or a comment?
I don't have any question. I just would say hello, Arnaud and Guillaume.
Hello.
It's so wonderful to see you both again. And I appreciate you guys taking the time. You know how much I love your wine. I don't need to say that again. No, just thank you for joining today. It's great to see you, and happy holidays to both you and your families.
Thank you, Sherry.
It's a big pleasure to be here. Jason, you know, text me like 2 days ago, Guillaume, can you come in? I said, oh, he's in.
Well,
so
I have to. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jason.
Go ahead, Guillaume. I'm sorry.
No, I said, to be honest, I had to cancel because I and we feel so fortunate to have all of you guys being behind us. You know, I think it's amazing. So thank you.
You pulled big numbers tonight. That's all I can say. The largest we've had since we started this thing, and it keeps growing. So we thank you so much for participating, and we love you guys. And the wine is fantastic, whether it's Clos Solène or Benom, they're both great. And Guillaume, you do a great job with the wine.
Thank you.
You're one of the rock stars. So.
No.
He's a rock star. He's a rock star.
Right.
No,
But,
no, we do a fashion. No.
But no, thank you guys for having us. You know, this group, we wish we can follow it more on Facebook, but it's hard when we get off of work with doing the bath for the kids and taking care of them and all of that. But no, thank you guys for playing a big impact on the Paso wine. We love that community, and we are happy to share it with you guys. So thank you for your support.
Thank you, Arnaud.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Guillaume.